Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to do a weekly recap for the high yield dividend portfolio that's on Robinhood. I do have another portfolio hosted on M1 Finance. It has all my REITs, BDCs, tech focused ETF, and crypto Bitcoin ETF as well. But that one doesn't really get that. It's not really all that sexy. It seems that more and more people enjoy the high yield dividend, content, the high yield dividend investing. So I'm going to just do a weekly recap on this portfolio. I may do some for the M1 Finance stuff, maybe a little later. But right now, let's just focus on the high yield dividend portfolio on Robinhood. So, no changes to the positions. I still have PLTW. I still have CHPY. I still have NVW, XPAY, XDTE. All right. These are cover call ETFs for the S&P 500. This is an Nvidia focused ETF and a Palantir focused ETF. And then CHPY is a semiconductor focused ETF, for the semiconductor sector. All right. So you guys know I use a lot of margin. So I just want to show you guys how much margin I've used. Basically all of it. Anytime I get paid dividends, what I do is you look for opportunities in those positions to take advantage of, either declines or pullbacks. So that's primarily what I use a lot of the dividend income for, or I'll use it to start a new position like in CHPY's case, right? I use that money to just open a new position in CHPY. So a lot of exciting things in this portfolio. It did pay out a really good amount of dividends this week. So from April 26th to today, it paid out about $1,400. And I'll just show you guys the calculator so you guys can take a look at that. We're not going to use no spreadsheets for this. All right. So $1,441 for the week. Really, really good. Okay. The value of this portfolio is probably around 200-ish, maybe a little more than $200,000. I started with 100,000 and then took a bunch of margin. And then, of course, we ran into the tariffs and the market declines. So, I'm slowly making my way back up, and it'll be nice once we get back to normal. So we'll see what happens. All right. There's still a lot of uncertainty in the markets. There's a possible, catastrophic tidal wave coming at us, especially with this whole tariff war with China. We still need trade negotiations to happen, all that stuff that's happening in the macro. We still have to keep that in mind. But anyways, let's see if there was any changes to the actual positions. The only changes I had were buying 2 shares this week of NVW at $32.54 a share. And then I bought an additional 18 shares of CHPY at $47.69. I'm very bullish on the semiconductor space. I think it has a lot of room to grow. So what's in the news right now is Palantir. And I think this is going to send the stock absolutely soaring. Okay. Palantir has been recovering quite nicely. Palantir has earnings on Monday, and I think that's going to be the biggest story for the week, aside from Jerome Powell speaking as well next week. All right. Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, he's also going to be announcing whether we're going to be getting a rate cut or not. I believe we will, but there's also some chatter that we may not, that he may just stay the course and continue on waiting for more economic data to come out. But I am of the camp, and I am of the belief we will be getting a rate cut. So this is also going to be a tailwind for just the stock market in general. I think the stock market is going to react very favorable if we get that rate cut. So we'll see. So Palantir is one of the very few stocks that have been absolutely ripping higher and higher. They've been climbing really high. There's a lot of momentum behind this stock. They are the premier defense AI, artificial intelligence company. Okay. Not only is the U.S. government using them, but so is NATO. They just won a recent NATO contract, and I think people are underestimating how big of a deal that is. Because if NATO is adopting it, it won't be long, in my opinion, before other U.S. partners start adopting this as well. Partners like South Korea, partners like Japan. So I really think that will happen sometime in the future. All right. But anyways, Palantir, again, up 45% for the year. And it's just been continuing to go higher. And it's one of the few stocks, like I mentioned, that has actually recovered from a downturn. This is right when they were announcing budget cuts and then a bunch of insiders were selling their stock, and then that sent the shares just declining like crazy, right? Then we also coupled that with tariffs and trade wars and everything else, and it was down 40% at one time. And ever since then, it's just been on a steady climb. Okay, so if you bought at the lowest of the lows, you could have seen a 67% gain. All right, so I hope you guys can see that. If not, you might have to press your face against your phone. But yeah, 67% gain for Palantir, right? From all-time lows or all-time highs back in February to lows, we had a 40% decline. All right, so Palantir, again, they have earnings on Monday. And this is going to be, I think, one of the most watched stocks, one of the most watched companies next week, all right, as we continue into earnings seasons. So what did Palantir actually win? Okay, like we have to look at this. Palantir has won a lot of new contracts, and these contracts are not in the United States. These contracts are in Europe. And I mentioned on one of my streams that once Palantir breaks into the European market, it's going to go parabolic. All right. This stock is going to swing higher and higher. And the reason is because now it's being adopted commercially. Okay. So we can see from a couple of contracts that it won, Palantir and TWG Global announced a joint venture to deploy their AI program across financial services and insurance. Palantir partners with Societe Generale, also based in the EU. All right. Then you have another one here. Palantir, announces Palantir Warp Speed accelerates, announces 6 new customers that are reindustrializing American manufacturing. Of course, the United States is focused on, manufacturing right now. So this is, again, a tailwind for Palantir. You also have, Anthropic joins Palantir's FedStart program to deploy the Claude application. All right, this is with FedStart. FedStart is a application that the federal government uses to basically allow startups to connect with governments, right, or with the U.S. government, right? So they can have that open line of communication. They can kind of pitch the government on whatever their startup is doing. So Palantir, again, just completely ripping high and higher based on all these contracts that they have. So I really, really think that they're going to crush earnings. They haven't announced on their own personal website their contract with NATO, but it was in the news. So again, that is going to send Palantir just ripping absolutely higher and higher. So I really think I'm really bullish on Palantir. I'm really bullish on it long term. I think this stock has a lot more room to grow, and I think Palantir, this ETF from Roundhill, the Roundhill Palantir Weekly Pay ETF, is going to continue to reach new highs as well, because it is a 1.2x levered ETF. All right, it's not just an ETF that does cover calls on Palantir. As a matter of fact, according to Roundhill, they don't do cover calls on Palantir. They use some type of proprietary formula to basically come out with their weekly payments. And, it's just a 1.2x, 120% levered position against Palantir. So again, this ETF, in my opinion, is very unique. And there's other players coming into the space with their own leveraged income, weekly income ETFs. Defiance just announced one of theirs for MSTR. That ticker is MST. Again, I don't know about Defiance. I know it's not a very popular ETF fund manager, and it has a lot of flack against them, a pretty bad reputation. So we'll see. We'll see if they continue to come out with more. We'll see if maybe Yieldmax might come out with some, or maybe Neos or whoever else. I think honestly, Yieldmax will probably be the one that comes out with their next line of ETFs aimed at leveraged weekly pay options. So, anyways. That'll do it for this portfolio. Not a very long update. Again, for the week, very, very crazy. Looks like we've been just continuing to grow and have more and more green days. So looking forward to next week again. Markets really they're not supposed to continue growing like this. This is very rare that the S&P 500 just continues to grow like this or continues to gain like this. So I think that there is a possibility, a very high possibility of a pullback sometime next week. So I'm just trying to practice some type of defensive play, but of course, I'm not going to be buying bonds or anything. But any new dividend income I get, I'm just going to hold it and then wait for a pullback and then try to take advantage of the stuff. Honestly, my biggest defense is being invested into something like XDTE or XPAY because these are S&P 500 ETFs. All right, these are ETFs that have cover call options against the S&P 500. So being invested into an S&P 500, you don't have that single stock exposure. An index dropping 5 or 10% is very hard, right? There has to be something catastrophic that happens or something that's happening in the macro like tariffs to cause something like that to drop. But a single stock like Palantir or Nvidia, those can drop 5 or 10% in a single day. So, this is in my mind, in my opinion, a way of being defensive. So maybe I should deploy, some more money into these two instruments or ETFs versus maybe the PLTWs or NVWs. But honestly, again, I'm really bullish on semiconductors. So I'll probably be investing a little more into CHPY as we go into next week. So that'll do it for this update. That'll do it for this portfolio review and kind of my thoughts and some commentary on what's to come. So anyways, more to come. If you guys like this type of content, please like, subscribe. I also do lives Monday to Friday, most days, not every single day, because some days there's just not enough spicy news out to really do any type of coverage. But maybe I'll just start doing some portfolio stuff, or some random live streams. I don't know. But if you want to get in on those live streams and, chat with me, chat with the crew, chat with the community, you are more than welcome to. So without anything else, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.